All right, starting off with a view outside, a beautiful view from our first community bank camera. This one sits atop the USS Lexington. You may have also heard me call this the shaky camera, as you can see why at this point. We won't have you stare at this too long lest you get seasick, but yeah, up there on the Lex, it definitely catches the breeze, which we've got plenty of today. The view from the CCAC camera out at Snoopy shows the death of a thunderstorm. That's what you're seeing right there in the middle of the screen, right above the JFK Causeway. I'll show you where that thunderstorm was here in just a second. But yeah, a beautiful day here across the coastal bend. And how about that sea breeze? Really wasn't much of one because our wind direction isn't quite one that it allows for very much of a sea breeze before it takes all those clouds off to the north, and then clouds from some storms up in East Texas seen on the visible satellite loop I'm showing you right now. So this is all we had for clouds. That's the only thing between us and the sunshine. So as we head on into this holiday weekend, we're going to continue to feel the heat, but I have to remind you, even on cloudy days, UV radiation can go through the clouds, and we don't have any clouds. There's not a lot of help there. You catch my drift. Make sure you're wearing the SPF 30 or better. Doesn't matter how much melanin you have in your skin. Chances are you probably have more than me, but we want to make sure that we are taking care to wear that SPF 30 or better, because chance of skin cancer doesn't care what time of year it is. You want to make sure you're staying safe. But I showed you the depth of a thunderstorm on our sky cam here. It looked like it was a lot closer. That's our closest thunderstorm, and there it was, whoop, short-lived. The end, up by the Victoria Crossroads. That's about as much for rainfall we're going to get into the next couple of days, at least into the holiday weekend, aside from maybe a few that try to brew up over the Gulf waters. So if you had plans to take the boat out for the weekend, that's something to keep in mind. Keep an eye on the radar just in case. The concern more for thunder and lightning than anything else. But we are dry. This dry pattern continues today, tomorrow, Sunday, and then perhaps Sunday night. Depends what neighborhood you're in. We may start to get some of that rain back into the mix. But boy, we could use some. Look at this today, 100 degrees. We haven't seen these very hot temperatures because we've been enjoying those earlier scattered showers in the week that helped to tame some of the heat, but it's not the record. That's 107, last hit back in 2012. However, we would normally be in the lower 90s this time of the year. Average high for today, 94 degrees on Sunday, the last day of August. Corpus Christi's average high temperature will drop down to 93 degrees. And there is some weather chisme that suggests we could be looking at some cooler temperatures ahead. I'll tell you the catch with that. But as far as rainfall goes, obviously we didn't see any at the airport today. We really need good rainfall in the mix here, y'all. We are behind now 5.68 inches of rainfall for the year. That's important because heading into September, we typically see about 5.5 inches of rainfall. So even if we got every drop of that, we would still be behind this much. We have a lot of making up to do. So let's hope that September is generous. We have the water in the air around us. I'm sure you feel that. Dew point temperatures help us understand that humidity kind of in relation to the temperature. And when they're in the 70s, woof, we are suffocating. And that is the case for most of us. However, we had some 60s, just muggy dew points for some of those inland neighborhoods. You had a little bit more of a dry heat. So not as much difference between the actual air temperature and that feels like temperature. But let me show you how the humidity levels the playing field. We are looking at temps on the coast near 90 degrees, but feeling like the lower 100s, whereas inland, we're in those lower 100s. And for the most part, pretty true to temperature. Now, these temperatures have been dropping quite a bit as we lose daylight. That's great because high school football kicks off tonight. And, you know, we're going to have those kids out there in the field sweating. The temperatures will be a little bit better by then, thankfully, but the humidity, not so much. We tend to see the worst of it during the overnight as temperatures come down. The atmosphere is fairly juicy. And with very little wind, I hope you're sleeping in tomorrow morning because you'll likely be greeted with some air you can wear. But what if you've got to get up to take the pup for a walk? Here's what to know. Mr. Bean, we showed you this pup yesterday. Pups that are like pugs or smaller dogs tend to have trouble, especially when it comes to this heat. So make sure that they're staying cool. We're going to have lots of humidity during the overnights and through the day. Not much relief. So shorter walks that are more frequent, I think, will help us out. And if you plan to head to the coast to beat the heat, here are some tips. It's going to be windy out there. That helps to bring the breeze in off the cooler waters, but our temperatures will be like today, near 90 degrees and feeling like the triple digits. As far as the heat risk, it's going to be up there, moderate to major for most of the coastal bend. That's a 2 and 3 out of 4. Look at the brush country, this purple on the map. That's top of the scale, 4 to 4 extreme heat risk. And so that will likely be the case, only slightly better as we head on into Sunday and eventually Labor Day Monday. The big weather picture hasn't changed much for us. We're still tracking this front, but it's not going to be back here until Labor Day. that's when our next best chance of rainfall comes into the mix. It's not a washout, but something to keep in mind if you had plans for Labor Day Monday. Some scattered showers will be in the area. And here's that weather chisme. Long-term outlook from the Climate Prediction Center shows we're pretty likely to have some cooler than normal temperatures between September 4th through 8th. Now the catch? It's likely going to come with some rainfall. It's probably only the upper 80s, but still, we can appreciate it, especially after looking at the next 7 days.